Now let us see deployment. And deployment simply manages a set of pods to run an application workload usually one that does not maintain state. And this state means the concept of state, the applications that does not maintain state, which are the normal applications that we have, like the Node.js, and the other ones called the stateful set, which maintains states, like our databases, like MongoDB, databases like Redis, etc. Right? So all these ones are deployments. You can run it, but it's not always advisable. Right? So it's always good to use deployment to run application. And later on in this channel, we are going to discuss the differences between these two. Right? So now, this is an higher object than replica. Right? So it simply manages replica. And if we look at some of the things that it does, so let's break it down, and I'm going to say first thing it does, right? It manages replica. We can say then it handles rollback. Replica cannot do that. It handles updates, right? It handles scaling as well. It can scale up to facilitate more workload, right? So to be able to really see more of deployment, right? You see that as we go on pods to surveys, replica sets, into deployment, we are building on top of each object, right? So the more it goes, the more it gets simpler. So let's just come here, and here we're going to close all of these, and let's create another folder inside this place, and I'm going to call it deployment, right? And inside it, let's just create another one. I'm going to call it 00. I'm going to call it app deployment .yml. And one thing I want you to know is that if you don't want to follow this, you can always come here and you have this app deployment, and you can simply copy and paste this. And in fact, to see that there's nothing wrong with it, I'm just going to simply copy and paste this. So I'll explain it. Now, if you see this, our API version is apps v1, not v1 like pod and service. It's not this. Replica set, you see that it was apps v1. And we have kind, which is deployment. And I'm naming it my app deployment. Don't forget. So this is the name of deployment, right? This is information about it. And we have the labels app, my app. If you remember, I told you we are going to be using service data deployment. And this is specification. We are saying we want 3 replicas of this particular deployment, right? So it will spin off 3 pods for us. And anywhere you find these match labels of this, it's going to attach itself to it, right? So you see the difference between this replica set. And now this is the labels for my service right here. my hub, and this is it right here. This is the selector. Wherever this service sees this label, using the selector is going to attach itself to it. So I'm just going to start with V1. I'm going to start with V1, and you already know our container port is 5,000, environment variables that was set, and we are using node port 3080, right? So one thing I want us to do first is let's go to all, and we still have so many things. So I want to delete everything in this replica, and what I can do is let me go to CD. I'm going to go to documents. I'm going to go to new folder. I'm going to go to Kubernetes tutorial. Let's check ls, and I'm going to go into 02 application and do another ls, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to say kubectl delete -f, and I'm going to say ReplicaSets. Now I'm saying this to all the folder. So all the manifest files that are inside this folder, it's going to delete everything, the pods, the service, the ReplicaSets. It's going to delete everything. So this is another good way to delete things. So you can always delete the folder. This is the first time we are looking at this. So as we go on, you see different ways to use different commands. So I'll say enter. And if you look at it, that's deleted the ReplicaSet. It has deleted service. That deleted the second one, and then the service of the second one. If we say kubectl get all, we shouldn't see anything. It's clean, right? So let's say clear. And what else we need to do now is I'm going to cd. If we cd into this deployment, so if I do this, let me see if it's saved. Yeah, it's saved. So one other thing we can do is, instead of, if I say ls, we have deployment, we can simply do kubectl apply -f deployment, and it's going to create our manifest file. Keep in mind, I did not sign in inside to say kubectl apply this particular file. I'm saying this folder. So everything that is inside it is going to actually create it. So I'll say enter, and great, it has created our deployment. Now to get deployment, I'll just say kubectl get deploy. I can say deploy, and I can say deployment. So I'll say deploy, right? And this is it, and it's telling us that I have deployment. We have 3 which are ready, up to date 3 available, and 3. So the same way, I'll say kubectl get deployment to see that, to tell you that it will give us the same thing, right? And it's giving us the same thing, right? So this is the short form of this. Now remember, we have been saying kubectl get pods. We can always do kubectl get po, and it will return this thing. Is the same thing with the kubectl get pod. So this is the short form, right? So now let's see our command as well. So if I say our service, svc, and we have my hub service, and it's listening on 3080, and you already know how to access this, right? So now what I want to do now is I want to do something. I want to change. Okay, before we do that, right? First, let me change this to 5, right? I want to scale this up, change this to 5, and I'm just going to do this back, kubectl apply f deployments, and it's going to tell me that my app is configured. And if I say kubectl get pods, now we have 5 running. Can you see how good this is? And then if I change this to 2, and if I say kubectl, so this one we don't need to, assuming this, we'll have to use another replica. No, same replica will still work, but for another version we have to use another replica. So for instance, if I say kubectl get PO, is still the same thing. So if I configure it now, you find out this has gone back to true. And you see how easy this is, right? And we are using ReplicaSets to do all of this. So you can see that deployment here, we are using to manage our replica set. Now let's go to our Postman. So if we go to our Postman, come here, and let's clear the screen, and let's say Minikube. Let's first get our service to be sure, get SVC, and we're going to say Minikube service. I'm going to say private network such as home, allow access to take some time, and I'm going to say my app service, and I'm going to say -- URL, right? And once I do this, it's going to give me an endpoint that I can use. So wait for it. Great. And this is the endpoint it's giving me. So my local host and 58154. So if we come here, and I'm going to change this to 58154. Right? Let's change this to 58154. And once we do this, I'm going to just come here. I'm going to say brandy@gmail.com. This is register, and I'm going to register. And 201 created, and we have message user registered. Now I want to show you something, the difference between these. Now if I come to this place and I change this directly, and I change it to V2, this will update it automatically. For replica set, we'll have to create a new replica set. This will be replica set, then we'll create a new replica set for us to be able to do this. But let's see how this can change it with no downtime. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say kubectl apply -f. And I'm going to say deployment, and it's configured this. And if I say kubectl, I'm going to say kubectl get. I'm going to say get pod. Let's just see more of it. Pod 0y o wide. Let me see. Okay, no, that was a mistake. I'm saying kubectl. I'm saying get deploy o wide. And great, we have my application. We have two is ready, and the age is 5 minutes 31 seconds, and we have images version 2. And let's go here. Let's see our Minikube -- service. Okay, no, Minikube service, and our service is my app service. And I'm going to say -- URL, and it's going to give us another one. And I'm going to say 58236. 58236. Rate 58236. And I'm going to change this to joseph@gmail.com. If we do this now, we should get version 2 message user registered. So if I say send, and see, without no issues. So in most and all cases, you would not use you will not use pod, you will not use replica set, you will use deployment to deploy most of your applications, because it's so effective and it's the best way to do this thing. So it's just more or less some of the simplest things you do for now. So the next one we are going to look at is going to be ConfigMap secrets. Then we are going to see persistent volume and persistent volume claim.